Hello, future medical professionals. Welcome to our deep dive into the fascinating world of body fluids and circulation. Today, we are exploring a critical aspect, disorders of this vital system. From high blood pressure to heart attacks, we'll uncover what happens when things go wrong in our circulatory system. We'll start with the basics, then gradually build up to complex concepts, preparing you for all levels of NEET. Get ready for an enlightening journey. Let's begin our journey with the fundamental understanding of common circulatory disorders. This easy level content will give you a clear picture of what these conditions are all about. Our first disorder is hypertension, commonly known as high blood pressure. Imagine your blood flowing through pipes. If the pressure inside these pipes is consistently too high, it can damage them over time. Normal blood pressure is around 120 by 80 mmHg. When it's consistently higher, say 140 by 90 mmHg, it's hypertension. This silent killer often has no early symptoms but can severely harm your heart, brain, and kidneys. Next, we have coronary artery disease, or CAD. This is where fatty deposits, called plaque, build up inside the arteries that supply blood to your heart muscle. This narrowing reduces blood flow, much like a clogged pipe, leading to chest pain or even a heart attack. Finally, at the easy level, we discuss heart failure. It's crucial to understand this isn't the same as a heart attack, where blood flow is completely blocked, or cardiac arrest, where the heart suddenly stops. Instead, in heart failure, your heart simply can't pump enough blood to meet your body's needs efficiently. It's still working, but it's struggling. Common signs include feeling short of breath, tired, and noticing swelling in your legs. These three conditions, hypertension, CAD, and heart failure, form the foundation of understanding circulatory disorders. Now, let's test your understanding with a few practice questions. Take a moment to think about the definitions and key points we just discussed. What is the typical normal blood pressure reading? What is the primary issue in coronary artery disease? And how does heart failure differ from a heart attack? Good luck! Ready to go a bit deeper? In this medium level, we'll explore the causes, symptoms, and basic mechanisms of these disorders, adding a couple more conditions to our list. Let's revisit hypertension. It can be primary, meaning no clear cause, often linked to lifestyle, or secondary, caused by other conditions like kidney disease. While often silent, severe cases might show headaches or nosebleeds. Untreated, it can lead to strokes or heart attacks. For CAD, the process, called atherosclerosis, starts with damage to artery linings, followed by cholesterol deposition and plaque formation, narrowing the arteries. Risk factors include high cholesterol, smoking, and diabetes. Understanding these causes and mechanisms is key to prevention and management. Moving on, angina pectoris is chest pain caused by insufficient oxygen reaching the heart muscle, usually during exertion. It's a warning sign of CAD. The pain is often described as a squeezing or tightness. A myocardial infarction, or heart attack, is more severe. It occurs when a coronary artery is completely blocked, usually by a blood clot, leading to the death of heart muscle. Symptoms are intense chest pain, shortness of breath, and sweating. Recognizing the difference between angina and a heart attack is vital for prompt medical attention. Lastly, let's look closer at heart failure, also known as congestive heart failure. This occurs when the heart's pumping action is weakened, causing blood to back up. If the left side fails, fluid accumulates in the lungs, leading to shortness of breath. If the right side fails, fluid backs up in the body, causing swelling in the legs and abdomen. Understanding these types helps in diagnosing and managing the specific challenges faced by patients with heart failure. These details build a more comprehensive picture of circulatory disorders. Time for some medium-level practice questions. These questions will challenge you to connect causes with symptoms and differentiate between similar conditions. Think about the specific mechanisms and classifications we've covered. What are the two main types of hypertension? What is the primary cause of angina pectoris? Go ahead and test your knowledge. Now, let's elevate our understanding. The hard level delves into the intricate pathophysiology, classifications, and interconnections of these circulatory disorders. At the hard level, we analyze hypertension in more detail. It's classified as primary or secondary, with primary being the vast majority, often multifactorial. A key player in its pathophysiology is the renin-angiotensin-aldosterone system, or RAS. Overactivity of RAS significantly contributes to hypertension by increasing vasoconstriction and fluid retention. Crucially, prolonged hypertension can cause target organ damage to kidneys, brain, heart, and eyes. Understanding these systemic effects is vital for managing the disease and preventing severe complications. This shows how complex physiological systems interact to maintain or disrupt homeostasis. Let's delve deeper into atherosclerosis and CAD. It begins with endothelial injury, often from factors like smoking or high LDL cholesterol, triggering inflammation. LDL particles then infiltrate the artery wall, get oxidized, and are engulfed by macrophages, forming foam cells. These accumulate, creating fatty streaks that evolve into fibrous plaques. The real danger comes when a plaque ruptures, leading to a blood clot, which can cause an acute coronary syndrome. For ischemic heart diseases, angina itself has a spectrum. Stable angina is predictable, while unstable angina is more serious, occurring at rest, indicating impending myocardial infarction. Myocardial infarctions are also categorized as STEMI or NSTEMI based on ECG findings and the extent of blockage. Finally, heart failure involves the ejection fraction, a measure of pumping efficiency. Reduced EF indicates systolic failure, while preserved EF indicates diastolic failure, where filling is impaired. The body's initial compensatory mechanisms, like sympathetic activation and RAS, eventually worsen the heart's condition. We also briefly touch on valvular heart diseases like stenosis, narrowing, or regurgitation, leakage, which increase the heart's workload. Connecting these theories, we see how chronic conditions like hypertension accelerate atherosclerosis, leading to CAD. The progression from stable angina to unstable angina and eventually myocardial infarction illustrates a worsening continuum of ischemic heart disease. Heart failure, in turn, can be a long-term consequence of uncontrolled hypertension or extensive myocardial damage from a heart attack. Understanding these interlinked pathways is crucial for holistic patient care and NET questions. For instance, how does RAS activation contribute to both hypertension and the progression of heart failure? This level requires you to think about the cascade of events and the body's physiological responses to disease. Now, let's tackle some hard-level practice questions. These questions require a deeper understanding of the mechanisms, classifications, and interconnections we've just discussed. Think critically about the pathophysiology. Can you explain the role of RAS in hypertension? How do stable and unstable angina differ? What is ejection fraction? Test your analytical skills. Welcome to the hardest level. Here, we dive into competitive depth, exploring advanced concepts, diagnostic intricacies, and modern treatment principles for circulatory disorders. Get ready for an intense learning experience. At this level, we look at advanced hypertension management. Beyond standard treatment, we encounter resistant hypertension, where blood pressure remains high despite optimal doses of 3 drugs, including a diuretic. This often signals a need to investigate for secondary causes. We also classify various pharmacotherapies, diuretics, ACE inhibitors, ARBs, calcium channel blockers, and beta blockers, each targeting specific physiological pathways to lower blood pressure. Understanding their mechanisms of action is crucial for any ET. We also consider hypertensive crisis, a severe BP elevation that demands immediate medical attention, differentiating between urgent and emergent cases based on the presence of organ damage. This historical progression of understanding and treatment has dramatically improved patient outcomes. For coronary artery disease, modern diagnostics include ECG for SENTI changes, cardiac biomarkers like troponin Ti for myocardial necrosis, and stress testing. Coronary angiography remains the gold standard for visualizing blockages, while CT angiography offers a non-invasive alternative. The engineering insight comes with interventional procedures, percutaneous coronary intervention, PCI, involving angioplasty and stent placement, mechanically opens blocked arteries. For severe multivessel disease, coronary artery bypass grafting, CAB, reroutes blood flow using grafts, essentially bypassing the blockages. These technological advancements have revolutionized the treatment of CAD, significantly improving patient survival and quality of life. The choice between PCI and CAB involves complex clinical decision-making based on the patient's condition and extent of disease. Acute coronary syndromes, ACS, represent a spectrum. Unstable angina involves ischemia at rest without enzyme elevation, signifying high risk. NSTEMI, or non-stent elevation MI, indicates partial coronary artery occlusion with myocardial necrosis and elevated cardiac enzymes. STEMI, stent elevation MI, is a complete occlusion leading to transmural necrosis, requiring immediate reperfusion therapy like fibrinolysis or primary PCI. For heart failure, chronic neurohumoral activation, involving the sympathetic nervous system and RAS, leads to detrimental cardiac remodeling. Advanced therapies include cardiac resynchronization therapy, CRT, for electrical dysynchrony, left ventricular assist devices, LVADs, as mechanical pumps, and ultimately heart transplantation. We also touch upon arrhythmias, such as atrial fibrillation, which increases stroke risk, and ventricular fibrillation, a life-threatening emergency requiring defibrillation. Finally, congenital heart diseases like VSD, ASD, or tetralogy of Fallot are structural defects present from birth, often requiring surgical correction. This comprehensive view highlights the complexity and diversity of cardiovascular disorders. The impact of our understanding of these disorders is profound. From early recognition of risk factors to advanced surgical interventions and pharmacotherapy, the chain of scientific discovery has transformed cardiovascular medicine. For instance, the understanding of cholesterol's role led to statins, drastically reducing CAD risk. The development of pacemakers and defibrillators has saved countless lives from arrhythmias. The engineering of artificial valves and ventricular assist devices provides hope for those with severe heart failure. This continuous cycle of research, innovation, and clinical application demonstrates the dynamic nature of biology and medicine. It's a testament to how scientific inquiry directly translates into improved human health and longevity, a legacy that continues to evolve with new discoveries and technologies. All right, it's time for the first set of hardest-level questions. These are designed to challenge your in-depth knowledge and analytical skills. Think about the nuances of diagnosis, the specific mechanisms of action for different drug classes, and the distinctions between acute coronary syndromes. What defines resistant hypertension? How do PCI and CAB differ? Go ahead and test yourself. Here are the remaining hardest-level questions. These will push you to connect advanced concepts, understand the implications of different heart failure classifications, and recognize the significance of specific arrhythmias. What are the key features of STEMI versus NSTEMI? How does neurohumoral activation impact heart failure? What are examples of congenital heart diseases? Dive deep into your knowledge and provide comprehensive answers. You've got this. And that brings us to the end of our comprehensive session on disorders in body fluids and circulation. I hope this journey through easy, medium, hard, and hardest levels has solidified your understanding and boosted your confidence for any ET. Remember, consistent learning and practice are your keys to success. For more such engaging and detailed educational content, make sure to visit synapse.omaps.in. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for regular updates and more amazing biology lessons. Keep learning, keep growing, and keep pushing towards your medical dreams. See you in the next session.